There is so much friggin' charm.
What is the magic spell?
And then we're going to transform this whole family lineage.
Is there life on other planets? Am I a starseed? Maybe. I mean,
there's an evolution in this house. I think this house seeks to find my highest self, my best self. Hi, everyone. It is Meredith, your evolutionary astrologer, and we have the most exciting video for you today. We are going to be talking all about the 9th house. I'm here with Connie Jo. Hi, Connie.
Hi, everybody.
It's so good to see you. The 9th house is so much fun to talk about because it is a joyful house. I consider it one of the three, if not the first happiest house of the zodiac. That's just my opinion. Don't you find a lot of joy in this house, Connie Jo?
I love the joy in this house. I think the 5th may trump it, but I love it.
Yeah, I say the 5th, the 9th, and the 3rd, and maybe they're all on the podium, right? They might change out the gold, silver, and bronze.
Yeah.
Well, let me talk to you guys a little bit about, what the 9th house actually represents. And in this series, we go a little deeper. And so I want you to think about this house in three different ways. One, if you have planets in this house, then there's a real emphasis in your own life, in your natal chart. Two, you can also go look at your progress chart and see if the 9th house is lighting up on your journey through life. Also, look at the transits. And if you have planets transiting the 9th house, this is a really important time for you. So this video applies to everyone. And what Connie and I are going to do today is talk about all 12 signs in the 9th house.
Also, Meredith, remember, because we use Placidus, people may have more than one sign in this house. They could have up to 3 even. If you're from a different country, some of the northern countries, they may have 3 signs in the 9th house. So listen to all of them, you guys, because they all have meaning for you.
If you work with whole signs, you're only going to have one sign in that house. I see this house. First of all, this house is ruled by Jupiter. It is a house, I think, that holds a lot of inspiration in it. We're going to talk today mostly about the modern concepts and ideas of this house. But I think this house is a little bit misunderstood when you go and you research it online or in the books, because I think this house holds on to its ancient definitions more so than, say, the 11th house or the evolution of the 6th house or even the 10th house. Have you found that to be true also?
I have absolutely found that to be true, because I just believe this house holds so much faith, what we have faith in. And of course, it's other countries, other cultures, and religious beliefs. It's all of those things, but it's so much more, Meredith.
Yes. And in ancient times, this was actually the house of God. And I see that there is our religion, our faith, and our belief system. I like to really bring it home for you around what is so important about a belief system. So I like to talk about Mars in relationship to Jupiter or the 9th house. So your Mars is activated. The reason why you put your feet on the ground in the morning and you take action in your life, right? And that is the Mars in your chart, or the Aries placement in your houses. But you have to believe in something to take action. And look at us. We both have our cats. How cute is that? And so this is your belief system. This is what fuels your Mars. This is what forces you to take action in your life. And so without a belief system, you are just a kind of a vacant person. You are hollow, right? So the belief system, I think, in ancient times was your religion. That's where you got your beliefs from.
Yes.
And now we've expanded. Some people, their religion still guides them like that, but not all people.
I agree, because I think it's so much more all-encompassing now that all spirituality kind of falls under the roof of the 9th house, which is really cool, because it's not one fits all anymore. It's very all-encompassing.
Yes.
And especially because it is the house of other languages, cultures, and higher learning. Isn't it nice that it also encompasses all spirituality? And
yes, I love that. It's and also even magic. One of the occult and magic was in this house, and we've kind of shifted that a little bit over to the 8th house.
Yeah.
But this is the house of the guru, and this is the house of those long journeys where you quested for the meaning of life. So this isn't just a short little journey to Disneyland. This is the pilgrimage, in search of who am I? I always say this is the house of the Holy Grail. This is the house of where Indiana Jones meets the Dalai Lama.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so good, Meredith. And I agree with you. This is about our quest to find faith in the universe, faith in something higher than ourselves.
Yes, and ask those esoteric questions. Who am I? Why do I exist? What is the meaning of human existence? Well, it's the second biggest house because it's ruled by Jupiter. The 12th house is ruled by the cosmos, right? And this is ruled
Absolutely.
by
Yeah.
Jupiter. And there's a regalness here too. There's a lot of royalty attached to this house because Jupiter is, Zeus. That's where they got the concept of God for this house. And so there is a light with this house. Like when I say light, I just mean a radiance, a bigness, a regalness. So whatever sign or planets you have in the ninth house have a regality to them,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
an importance. They're important to you. This part of your chart will feel very important. And this is also the house of philosophy, higher education, teaching. Did I say the guru? The
You
philosopher?
did.
Yeah.
And it's also the house. Listen, guys, this is so interesting because if you have planets here, or possibly your ninth house is ruled by Libra or Taurus, which means Venus is the ruler of that house, you may marry someone or have an important partnership with someone from a foreign land or from someone that has a very different culture than you do. It's not just being a foreigner, because different cultures or someone that has a really different philosophy of life. It's about being different, but it's okay.
So that brings up an extra point for the more advanced listeners. And if this confuses you, just don't pay attention to it. You should look at what planets are ruling this house. And if you use Placidus like us, you'll have two. And you'll want to go look at those planets and see where they fall in your chart to get a bigger piece of your story. Like what Connie said, if you have Taurus or Libra here and where Venus is in your chart, and if you have Venus in this house, you might be attracted to foreigners, foreign
Yeah.
language, foreign foods, foreign people, foreign things.
All foreign cultures, different stuff, different philosophies of life, even.
And you also talked about this house with another meaning that's a modern concept.
Oh, yes. Everybody, this is so cool because this house is sometimes considered the house of the second, I hate to use the word marriage, but committed relationship. The house of the second committed relationship. So, without going too far into it, I think the seventh house is always going to be important because that is the house of committed relationships. But if you have been in one and you're looking for your second one, your ninth house can be a nice guide to see what that relationship might look like.
I also think this is the house of intelligence, but it's a different kind of intelligence. It's not like necessarily the mathematical, computer technology. Yeah. It's this more liberal arts intelligence, like the storyteller, the English writer, the historian, right? The philosopher, sociology, anthropology, the study of dinosaur bones. And
I think it encompasses all of that. And then in ancient times or more ancient days, they just said the house of higher learning, which people equated to university or college. And that's not what it is, guys. Of course, it can be that, but it's higher learning about yourself, about it just encompasses so much more. Like Meredith said, it's huge.
Like yourself, but I might even tweak that a little bit and say not just yourself but your truth or your best self, right? Because there's an evolution in this house. I think this house seeks to find my highest self, my best self, my truthful self, my authentic self, right?
Authenticity is really, I think, what people are searching for when they take that deep dive into this house.
And how you fit into the world. So that's like why I said cultural anthropology or sociology. I also kind of see this house as open borders, but not maybe, I don't know. I want to think about that for a minute because I do see it as like the globe, but not all signs like open borders.
I do know.
But it's the question of, are you me and am I you? And it's that journey. This house is a journey and it's not fixed. It's mutable. Also, one other thing that I think is really fascinating about this house is in trine aspect to the ascendant. I think that's
Yes,
also why it's a joyful house. So
me too.
whatever planets you have in this house most likely are in trine to the sign on your ascendant. And so there's a lot of ease with this house. Okay, should we dive in? And do you want to talk a little bit about Aries in the ninth house?
Yes, I think Aries is so interesting in the ninth because ruled by Mars, there's a go-getter attitude about having Aries there and they want to know more. It's like they are full force wanting to learn more about themselves. They want that personal growth. They want to find out that what they really believe in, what they really have faith in. I think the catch 22 to Mars or Aries there is that when they find what they believe in, what they have faith in, what their philosophy is, they may be a little pushy about wanting others to believe the same thing that they do. What do you think?
Yes, I would agree with that. And I think that there's a deep passion around their own pilgrimages, if you will, their adventurers, their truth
Yeah,
crusade. And what they find, I think that they can really go dive headfirst into it and it can become all consuming. They can become totally consumed by their beliefs, even a little bit obsessive, just all in, all or nothing. And I also think on the darker side, let's talk about the dark side for a minute,
let's
Connie.
do. Let's do.
We got to keep it real. I think these people could become really self righteous and even bigoted in their own belief system. Like they're just so rigid inside their own belief system. If it's true for them, then it is the universal truth. They could even become a
Yeah.
cult leader. And this is if it goes really, really dark. Of course, anybody who's listening to this channel is not that dark because you're here obviously learning, but we
Yeah.
might all know somebody like this.
It doesn't, but the word crusader comes to mind
Yes.
when I think of Aries there. And in some ways, this is beautiful because they will crusade for what they believe in. You know, they will travel the world to find people to follow their lead. If it doesn't go awry, it can be really cool.
This reminds me a little bit of in Hamilton when I saw the show Hamilton, where Alexander Hamilton and Burr, they both wanted to be right about philosophically writing the Constitution and the
Yeah.
laws that were going to govern this new country. And they set out to a duel. And, it's a duel out, whoever is the
Yeah.
quick draw wins and the other person dies. That is Aries in the ninth house.
Oh my gosh, I so agree with you. I think that's and they do like adventure and travel. I mean, these are people that they are adventurous and want to find out more. They do.
Yeah. These are probably the people that left their country, got on the slow boat, the Santa Maria Pinta, and were like, okay, we're going to take this place over. And their truth, became the truth. They can be
Yeah.
really powerful and super convincing, and they can abuse that power or use that power to really, really inspire too. Let's hope.
Oh, agree.
Let's hope people are
Absolutely.
not
Yeah.
abusing their Aries in the ninth.
Also interesting to me, Meredith, that if this is a second long-term relationship, you have Aries on the ninth house, you may be attracted to that Martian energy, that Aries energy, but also everybody look for where Mars is in your chart, and that will give you more clues.
Okay, let's talk about Taurus. So I'm going to take on Taurus in the ninth because this is a little bit of for some people, this is going to be a little bit of a hard placement to put together because you have to think of the ninth house as being Sagittarius's domain and Sagittarius's territory.
Yeah.
And how the heck does Taurus work with Sag energy?
They're
Right?
quincunx. The energy doesn't mix. Yeah.
Right. And I hope everybody saw my quincunx video.
Yeah.
Say
Me
that
too.
one 3 times. Quincunx, quincunx, quincunx.
Okay.
Okay. So Taurus in the ninth house, I think these people have kind of a more pragmatic, practical approach to their belief system, their religion, their spirituality, their education, and even maybe have a great desire around fine art, culture, aesthetics, and people that are foreigners. So your garden, you might be the gardener who has, all these foreign and exotic plants growing in your garden. For me, the Japanese maple, or importing in beautiful rattan furniture, or furniture that is from a different culture. If you're American, maybe you like the Norwegian look, or the Norwegian chairs, something that is unique or different, or even eclectic. I'd also say that you probably have a love for foreign food. So food that is different than your own culture or your own background. And you also might believe in, your truth might be wrapped around hierarchical order. For example, you can't get your higher education until you've earned those merits, or you can't grow in the corporation or in the company until you've earned your stripes or earned your badges. And you might not really believe in shortcuts, meaning you need to follow the methodology in a systematic way. We're not talking about Gemini yet, but sometimes I think Gemini, if you have a lot of Gemini in your chart and ninth house, you read the last page of the book first to see how it's going to end, and then you go back, right? I don't think Taurus would do that here.
I don't either.
Have you ever read the last page, Connie, to know how hard am I going to get my heart broken with this darn book?
Yeah, I have. You just call me out. I don't have Gemini out there, but I do have. But don't you think, Meredith, that also having Taurus here brings a traditional aspect to their philosophy, religious beliefs, that what they have faith in? It just feels very traditional, like what is handed down in their heritage is how they continue.
Yeah, I think they are the keepers of the temple,
Yeah.
keepers of the culture. I think of maybe the Native American who can really hold those stories in a sacred place to pass them down, and
that's beautiful. Yeah,
maybe doesn't want to live off of the reservation unless it's completely impractical to live on it. They do want to advance and grow and build, but probably not at the expense of their heritage or culture. So you guys will have to, if you have Taurus here, you'll have to tell us if you can really appreciate this. Do you keep the traditions and the values that were passed down onto you? Mm-hmm. And where is your Venus? Because Venus is kind of running the show here. You might have Taurus and Aries here. And so you have to look at both of those and kind of mix them together like a nice watercolor. But yes, I think this is very practical and grounded towards self-improvement. This house wants to, like I said, be their best self. I think a lot of times this is the motivational speaker and communicator and writer, like a Tony Robbins. This is like Tony Robbins' house.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So yes. There would be like a diligence and a pragmatic system to find my better self and work on my better self and implement the tools and techniques that I need to become my better self.
I too would really like to know. Please comment if you have Taurus here, because I think with the quincunx aspect, it's tough to fit this fixed earth sign into this mutable fire sign.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a little bit hard.
And you can really get tripped up. I think you can trip over this energy because the Taurus is kind of wants to play it safe and secure. And the Sagittarius part, the ninth house part, wants to dive into the deep end.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's a lot of passion here, but that passion can feel sometimes thwarted. Maybe you will even feel like you didn't get to do your passion. I'll also tell you, I think that a person, Aries and Taurus, all the signs, I think the ninth house has a sense of athleticism too. These people,
I do too.
Usually, if you have planets here, you probably have great legs, Tina Turner legs.
I think you would maybe think of the Olympics belonging to the fifth house, but I see the Olympics in the ninth house because it's all cultures coming together to compete.
I love that. Yeah, I think there's a real athleticism here. So when my brother's baby was being born, listen to this. This is so funny. When my brother's baby was being born, he said, we're going to have to do like a C-section. What time do we want to do this? It's going to be sometime between 10 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm like, well, you could do between 10 and 12 and get a 10th house son. Or if you want a professional athlete, have your baby between 12 and 2 p.m.
Oh my gosh, way to go, Mayor.
And then he became a minor league baseball player. Yeah. For the Dodgers. Isn't that funny? For the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I love that. That was good. Yeah.
So funny. I think that might've happened with the 10th house too, but
Yeah.
Okay. So, Gemini, do you want to take on Gemini?
I do, because I think when you have Gemini here, there is a real quest for knowledge and knowledge, just because the sign of Gemini just wants to know about everything, and their belief system may change. Gemini is a mutable sign. So as they learn more, they may encompass, okay, so I found this out today. This is my new philosophy. I still believe the old one, but I believe this too. It's like they're able to encompass all of that knowledge and energy together I think in a very beautiful way. I believe love to travel more, to find out more about the country that they're going to. I think the Gemini, since it's ruled by Mercury, you wouldn't think that automatically, but still that mercurial vibe there wants to know about everything.
And also, this is on the teacher student access. So I think these people are
is.
super smart. And I also think what you learn, you will eventually teach if you have planets on this aspect, you know. So
they would make great teachers.
Phenomenal.
For sure.
And great storytellers, even a great actor. Anybody who has to do public speaking, TED talker, podcaster, writer, communicator, singer. You could be a phenomenal singer, and not just a singer, but a showman. Because there's a little bit of showmanship with this ninth house too. And then with Gemini there, it's just so ethereal. And
they can communicate all of this with ease.
Yes.
That's why it's so nice to have, to think about that Mercury mixed with Jupiter, because they communicate easily. Hello, my kitty.
And I think there's an adaptability and a flexibility with them. And I think also great negotiators. If you have Mercury here, or if you have Gemini, you guys have to let us know, is it easy for you to communicate and talk about your ideas? You also kind of might not shut up. You might be excessively talking. Ask your friends, do I talk a lot?
Let's leave that one there.
I think these people are supposed to be kind of published authors or published writers, or publishing their knowledge in some way. It could be fiction, but I think they'd be really good at historical fiction too. I wonder where the writers of the Game of Thrones, have in their ninth house.
That's a good point.
Like historical fiction or historical art, recreating art that was once a technique that was once done. Really interesting. Or studying Mesopotamian pottery. And also, I think this brings a little bit more of a technical side to the wisdom of the ninth house, because Gemini can do the technical. It can bridge those two worlds. This would be a phenomenal astrologer. And, they used to, in ancient times, they gave the ninth house astrology. They assigned astrology to the ninth house.
Yeah. It hasn't always been in the 11th.
Yeah, it hasn't always been in the 11th. And so Connie and I lean more towards modern understandings, real world practical application. Yeah. But of course, you have to come from somewhere and understand the foundation.
I was just going to say, don't you think that Gemini on the ninth, though, it may be one of the most accepting of all cultures, all languages, all philosophies, that they're the ones that will embrace all of it without prejudice or judgment?
Absolutely. I love that you said that, because Gemini, I do think, is probably the most open-minded sign. And when you have it here, you really do see past those personal truths. And like Connie said in the beginning, you can outgrow your own personal belief system and change it and get more information, more knowledge, and change and grow. And this is going to keep you young. I think that this is a real position of the fountain of youth, because I just went to dinner on Monday night with a woman that was older, probably close to her late 70s. And I said, what keeps you so young? And I said, what is your secret to being a fountain of youth? Because I saw her as so youthful. She said, it is to keep my mind nimble. And that's what I think about Gemini in the ninth. It is a nimble mind. It's doing acrobats. And she said, and that is more than just doing Wordle. That is being curious about life. And that's what this placement is. This is an exciting placement, don't you think?
I do. My dad is 93, has the same philosophy, and he's a Gemini sun. So
your dad is 93?
He is. Yeah.
Wow. Does he live by you?
No, unfortunately he doesn't. But I talk to him every day. And his philosophy on life is really beautiful. He tells me all the time, live every day.
Yeah.
Live every day.
Yes. And get curious about something new. That is really cool, Connie. But this is he a Libra rising? So I think this is Libra rising too, right?
I don't, part of me thinks he probably is, but I don't know for sure. Time of birth back then wasn't always recorded.
Okay, Cancer in the ninth. This is my daughter's placement. So I live with this placement and I like this placement, but it's a little bit like Taurus, where it's like, huh? So if you have this placement, there actually might be conflict in you because it's the other quincunx
Mhm.
relationship. Cancer, Sagittarius is in quincunx to one another. And if you don't know what that is, you have to go watch that video. Cancers like to be at home. And then the ninth house likes to travel. This is so interesting how it plays out. I think these people can really feel at home traveling and they enjoy it. Now, I think they can feel comfortable and at home traveling, especially if they have a beautiful home to return to, ironically. And
Right.
they probably are going to set up their lives or have a dream or a desire or a belief system that says, my goal, my hope, my wish is to have a beautiful home base and travel from it. I have a beach home and then I have an urban home, or I'm bi-coastal, or I have my summer home in the south of France. Wouldn't that be nice? I'm so jealous of anybody who
Yeah, me too.
going to the south of France to drink my
Oh,
Bordeaux. I also think that there is a deep, deep love for learning about other cultures, cultures within cultures, subcultures, but it's out of a self-protection in a way. Like, who am I in this world? That puzzle is going to be figured out by also who am I not, right? And so the
yeah.
study of people and their wisdom kind of trickles back into defining who I am, who was my family, what is my legacy, what were my heritage and my roots and my lineage about. And then travel could correspond to that. For example, you could want to go to I don't know, Nigeria, because you have Nigerian roots and you want to
Mhm.
understand that heritage and how
Yeah.
that affects you today in the modern city that you live in. And so you bring that world back to your personal experiences that you have in your own community and neighborhood. I mean, there's a real personalization to the ninth house with this placement. I don't want to say it's all about you, but it's about learning your truths by also really understanding what your truths are not.
Well, that's a good point. But I think there's something very intuitive about having Cancer here where they know what's right for them because they can feel it. I think because of that moon ruling this house, they feel when things are right for them.
Yeah, there is a real high intuition. And the Sagittarius also has an intuitive quality to it, a knowing. And so it's kind of that double combo. I also think it's really interesting if you want to talk about space for a minute. Cancers like to cocoon, they like their
Yeah.
bedroom a certain way, their bathtub, they small spaces. And then Sagittarius likes the enormity of life.
Yes.
And so that's a really interesting twist. And so there's this desire to understand this enormity of life if they can go back to their little cocoon.
Cocoon, yes. I
Yeah.
had not thought about that, but that is so true because you're looking at a house that's ruled by the planet of expansion. That when you put the moon there, I think it gets just a little bit overwhelmed is
Yes, it can.
by
It
everything.
It can. And I think Cancer has to travel and explore the world in a way in which there's like safety and comfort. I'll tell this really cute story. So I just took my daughter to New York City. We were looking at colleges. And, anyways, I took her to Alphabet City and we went to a poetry slam. I mean, we were the only two people that looked like this at this poetry slam in Alphabet City in New York City. And my daughter was definitely the only 16-year-old there for sure. Anyways, the poetry slam had so many mixed cultures and views and concepts and ideas and people who just lived in just such rough and tough lives, right? And then they just slammed down this poetry. I mean, it just was absolutely awe-inspiring. And it was really, really cool. So at the end of our New York trip, and we did everything, we did Central Park, we did it all. But I asked my daughter, I said, what was your very favorite part of our trip? And she said, definitely the poetry slam in the East Village. And I was like,
Oh, I love it.
and it was because she got to see truths about her life by
Mhm.
hearing these really hard stories about what it meant to be a Puerto Rican growing up in Harlem and what it meant to be, living in the Bronx and the Bronx life. And the rap and the poetry was just out of this world incredible. And I'll actually put the name of the cafe in the notes below. and I'll put a link because it's a really, really cool place. But anyways, she got to learn what her life was about and what it hasn't been about by seeing and standing in the shoes empathetically, compassionately, and thoughtfully through the stories of other people.
Wow.
Really Cancerian in the ninth.
That's really good. And I think, Meredith, that also just goes to show that you don't necessarily have to travel, although the ninth house is definitely about travel, but you can also travel in your mind. You can read books, you can expand your knowledge in other ways besides just actually physically going somewhere.
Connie Jo, that is so good. And that's why you and I do modern astrology, because back in ancient days, like when we were born,
yeah,
the only way to travel, if you weren't going to read the encyclopedia, right, was to get your buns out there. And now the whole world has opened up with drones. You can see, like you and I right now, we could go to Scotland. We could go to the Scottish Isles. We could see all the Scottish islands, right? And travel with drone pictures and have a blast.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
that's the ninth house.
It's so different, but I love it that we both embrace the modern aspects of it and not just the traditional.
Yeah, you get Leo.
I do get Leo. I think there is a pride with Leo in the ninth house. A pride. They're proud of what they believe in, proud of their education. There's a regalness about it when they go to other countries or they embrace other cultures, even if it's through a Zoom meeting. People tend to gravitate toward the person with Leo on the cusp of the ninth because it's ruled by the sun. It's like an open, sunny spot for people to see and come into. They definitely want more knowledge, self-improvement. What can I learn about philosophy that will improve my life? How can I learn about what is the magic spell to do this and that? They want to know all of these things, but it's a different kind of thirst for knowledge than Gemini has. It's more, what can I learn to improve myself?
Absolutely. And I also think there's a real high desire for admiration with this quality, because we have the sun god, right? The god of Apollo, the god of the sun. And then we have Zeus, the god of the entire universe. And so I feel like we didn't do the dark side for every sign. I'm so sorry. We should go back and do that, but we're not going to. But the dark side of this is just full blown arrogance, I think. It can just be so dark.
Know it all.
Yeah, know it all. And they probably were in some way the little king or the little adorable. There is so much friggin' charm with this aspect, Leo in the ninth. These people were like born adorable, born with a crown on their head, born frickin' funny, born the entertainer. They came with tap shoes on their feet. I swear to God. They're total entertainer, don't you think? Like larger than life on the stage. And it might have gone to their head a little bit.
A little dramatically, yes.
A lot of drama, a lot of dramatics, and maybe even exaggerated sense of self and also exaggerated feelings. Like, if you don't like me, I am just devastated with this position. I cannot get out of bed if you tell me you don't like me. So this person can really work for the likes, but when they become authentically themselves, so the sun is the ruler of this house if you have Leo here. So if the sun is in Scorpio, that's going to look different. If it's in a shy house, like the 4th house or the 12th house, it's going to look a little different. But if you've got a big fat sun in your chart, it might sound like what I just said. So
if your sun is in Sagittarius, it could definitely be, everybody. Yeah.
It is a forest fire. This is literally a blazing forest fire, but it also can be just the most delightful, funniest, charming, entertaining, kind, generous Santa Claus that you've ever met too. And so I think this is a really happy placement for the most part. Like, if this is your placement and you're not having fun, you probably need to call us for a reading. 1-900. No, I'm joking.
But I think this is also a loyal placement that
Connie's going to get us serious now. Connie's getting us back on track.
I am. I'm getting us. Yeah, you wouldn't think that was my placement or anything, would you? But there's a loyalty there to what you believe, what you have faith in.
That's true.
It's a big deal, I think, for Leo here, their faith, what they believe in, what they put their faith in every day, it's kind of a big deal for them.
Absolutely.
Because
And
they have
have to have that, Connie, and they have to believe in themselves. And so if they suffer from imposter syndrome with this placement, that is so painful. Like they have to get into the authentic self and not just being the entertainer so their mom and dad approve, or not just
that.
living life on somebody else's belief system that was handed down, because this is the sun. So it's so personal. They got to get life on their own terms and have the guts to do so. So
Yes.
this can bring a vulnerability and a pain that's kind of hidden inside underneath a facade.
Yeah, a bit. It reminds me of your Leo rising video just a little bit. So go watch that, everybody. But that's kind of the concept that I think Meredith is talking about. The Leo here keeps it hidden. They don't show it.
Yeah, I mean, do you see a lion vulnerable? And, no, you don't. And if you do, they're probably on their way to death. It's really hard. That Leo rising video that I did, I mean, I had to really hold back tears. That was a really poignant video. So thank you for bringing that up, Connie.
Yeah.
Okay, Virgo. I think I'm
Ooh.
getting these hard placements today.
Man, the one thing I know about Virgo here
Yeah.
is that they will question everything. If let's say they're in a church service, or they're in some kind of spiritual movement, or someone is trying to explain their philosophy or explain astrology, they will question the hell out of it because they want truth. Show me. They're the show me.
Yes.
I think.
And it's also, they're really steeped in facts and accuracy. And the ninth house can exaggerate. So wherever you have Sagittarius in your chart or in the ninth house, it's exaggerated a little bit. Remember, it's the second biggest house. It's ruled by Jupiter. And so this is where you're a little bit more colorful or exaggerated. Well, you put Virgo in here. So now your need for the facts, or being a little bit cynical or critical, or
cynical, that's a good word. Yeah.
Right. Having that critic's eye is now exaggerated. The exactitude is the thing that is exaggerated. And there's a desire for perfection and perfectionism around how we were saying your belief system. You're not going to attach to a belief system that is not going to create improvement. Virgos want self-mastery and they want improvement. Yeah. This could be such a genius placement if the person is really dedicated to their mission in life, to their knowledge and understanding. I mean, I would imagine that you could be one of the greatest scholars. You could be like one of those people that translates the Greek and Latin, into English so we can all understand it. Like a real pioneer in some sort of scholarly masterwork.
I could see that. Absolutely.
Do you remember when we were young, Connie Jo? Masterpiece Theater.
Oh, of course I do. Say that, but I do remember, you know what, keeping it real, y'all. So Virgo shares part of my ninth house. And I can remember going to church as a kid and someone saying something. And I said, why? Who says? That ninth house part of my Virgo, the Virgo part of my ninth house came out. Why? Because who says it? I want the facts, please. Don't just tell me to believe in something.
Right. And also something about you that I see is that you really work with a lot of precision. You're very careful about what you say. You don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. You want to be perfect before you say the thing. You want to double check your facts. You are very much like that. I can
the Virgo
see
side of it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you really do. And when things don't, I shouldn't say go right, but when things, when you feel like you're not going to be able to deliver, I think it really crushes you. So you don't want to do it until you have it just right.
You're right. I'm
so
guilty.
I can see that. I think that the bringing analytics into, this is the visionary house, having visions, having a big dream. Yeah. And with Virgo's ability to build the dream step by step, commit to building the dream, commit to doing the work of the dream, it makes this house definitely not just pie in the sky. Like now the dream, the vision is doable because you got Virgo there that can actually work the dream, work the whole vision.
Yes, because that mutable earth, it brings it back down to earth again. It's not just a forest fire going wild. You actually can bring some
Focus.
not materialistic, but yes, focus in there where
Yeah.
it's more tangible.
Absolutely. And there's a will or a desire to master something. And so they have a great tenacity. I really like this placement, but I think the person who has this placement could be extraordinarily hard on themselves. Like they always feel like I'm not smart enough. I might not be good enough. I might not deliver. I might mess up. I might, because there's an exaggeration of I have to bring it. It has to be perfect. And I don't know. I think the Sag could help the Virgo loosen up and lighten up, but it might just create more pressure. I don't know.
It is in the house of expansion. I'm just thankful that mine happens to share it with another sign as well. So it's not all so analytical. I love the sign of Virgo, though, in almost all placements because they are so committed to doing things the right way, or what they feel is the right way.
Connie, the Sagittarius Virgo energy is in square to one another, and squares do make things happen. And so I think these people are really quite committed to what they believe in. This is a little bit of a I will die trying.
Yeah,
energy.
I agree.
Yeah, I will die trying. And, we are going to fix this, and we are not moving on until this is fixed.
That sounds right.
I need a little bit of this in my life. I need this. Yeah. And I think that this is a really, really smart person. Let's talk about Libra.
Libra in the ninth is very interesting because they want harmony, they want balance. So there's a certain harmonious feeling to having Libra here. You want to be in peace and harmony with what you believe, with how you believe it, with who you share your beliefs with. They also want to learn more about the artistic side of life, about the divine order of things, so to speak. They're ruled by Venus. This is the placement that I can see. They're in another country they're the personal shopper in another country, getting things. But there's something very harmonious, but also, Meredith, there's also something fair. I think Libra is such a fair sign. They're ruled by the scales, y'all. But what's so interesting is Saturn is in its joy in the house where Libra lives. It's in its joy in Libra. Think about that. So does that mean that Libra can be a little judicial? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this could be the international lawyer or studying international law.
You got it. I was thinking the same thing. Yes.
Yeah. I also think we got to think about not just relationships and partnerships, but even like business partnerships. So the import export art dealer, because Libra is the arts too, and gravitating towards international arts or international cultures through relationships or business relationships. I like how you said it's kind of judicial, because I do think there is a little piece of judgment here, wanting to study what is right from wrong, what is
exactly
good and bad, and also being diplomatic about how to solve global issues and global problems.
Oh, that is so interesting. I mean, think about it, Meredith. They don't put the scales on the justice card in the tarot for nothing. It is very Libra. Yes, they're beautiful. Yes, they're ruled by Venus. Yes, there's so many gorgeous, beautiful things about Libra. But above all, they want justice.
Yeah.
They want things to be fair. I can definitely see a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. Or a Supreme Court justice or a judge,
Yes.
And I think that there's also like a diplomacy, but a regality. So they do kind of like being on top of the system rather in the underbelly. And if they did commit a crime, they probably would wrap it up as a justice crime.
And then they would put a pink bow on top of it because they're ruled by Venus. Right. But yeah, I agree with that as well. And I think that culture is so important to Libra, and that learning about other cultures, learning other languages.
Yes.
And also teaching here, because you could teach with such diplomacy and fairness.
And you can teach both sides of the equation.
Yes.
You could be the great government teacher, where you literally are the teacher who is teaching about the Republicans and the Democrats, and
And being fair about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and your students literally don't know which side you're actually on. Or you could be talking about some sort of controversial subject and people don't know where you actually stand. So I do think that the Libra Sag, in a way, the Libra is capable of sort of taking themselves out of it and being the drone, talking about drones again, a more objective perspective. This is very United Nations too, or
Oh, I agree. Or the new, like you were saying, how someone you don't know which side they're on, like the reporter or the news anchor, that they report the news in such a way that you have no clue where they really.
I think it's really important for Libras too, when they're in relationship with somebody, they usually marry somebody or connect with somebody who emulates their belief system because they cannot deal with controversy very well. So they look for their own belief systems, right, to attach to sometimes because they don't want to be in a
conflict.
Yeah, a chronic conflict, or at least somebody who might not impose their belief systems onto them.
I agree 100. That was a really good point because they want to keep harmony to that extent.
Thank you, Connie. Okay, let's do Scorpio. I think this would be maybe a little bit hard to have, but if they have Scorpio here, they might also have Sagittarius if you're not working with whole signs. But there's going to be a depth to what they believe in, and they are going to crusade for the deeper truths in life. So there's twofold to this. They're going to want to understand the surface social rules of society and how to engage. And then they're probably going to choose to go deeper into what is really going on, like the dark money, right?
I was going to say the same thing. They want to know what the mystery is and they're going to solve it.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, who really is running this show? And what is the underground, what's the underground, the stuff that no one's talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, we could just take one controversial subject, the pharmaceutical company. Let's just say that. And the Scorpio in the ninth house wants to know who's running this, who's getting paid what, how are they controlling us? The conspiracy theories. And also not just conspiracy theories, but like, what is the problem with the face of this situation? They make incredible forensics, forensic. Yeah. And I also think that this could be a person who finds their truths later in life because the truth is very complicated and they are willing to study the complicated truth. So when you're little, a truth has been passed down on you. You are supposed to believe A, B, and C. And it takes Scorpio here, if you will, maybe a decade to unravel that truth, A, B, and C, and to find their own. And so this is a little bit of a slower journey into truth. I think it is very profound. And I think this placement is so deeply transformational. And when this person is healthy, they can actually stop family generational trauma and negative things that have been passed down, because the buck kind of stops with them and they can create a whole new belief system that might be healthier. This is when they're healthy.
No, I think that's a really, really good point because they're not going to stop investigating philosophies of life, who they are, where they came from, what is their purpose, until they get to the bottom of it, which could take a lifetime, right?
Yes, it could take a lifetime. If they come from, let's say, a family of alcoholics, right?
Yeah.
If they're healthy and they understand the psychological reasons of why that happened inside their family and their biology and their genetics and the stories that got passed down, they're the ones that can transform and attach to a whole new belief system for their children. Like, here's what we're going to believe in. We're going to believe in health and wellness. And then we're going to transform this whole family lineage and we're going to take it in a new direction. So there's a lot of personal power with this placement. But I do think that it is complex. I think this is extraordinarily complex. And there's a psychology aspect. Now we move from philosophy and anthropology into a little bit more of human psychology, like Jung and Freud and the hero's quest.
I can't help but think this. My mind was just working this way. You have Jupiter, the ruler of the ninth house, the natural ruler, and then you have Scorpio coming in with Pluto being the ruler. And that is the millionaire aspect. when those two conjunct.
Oh,
There is a determination about Scorpio being here
yes.
to get to the top, that's the reason I think it's the millionaire aspect, because Scorpio has that tenacity and that transformative power, and Jupiter can expand big money. I just think that's really interesting, the Scorpio being there.
Connie, that is so awesome. I love that. And just to put a little pepper or salt on that idea, they have this steely determination that you mentioned. But think about it. Scorpio is really pretty unafraid. I mean, there is a fearlessness with Scorpio. And then Sagittarius is also pretty unafraid. They will run into the blazing fire to save the burning house or baby or whatever. There's a different kind of fearlessness. There's a fearlessness around taking the risk in Sagittarius. And then there is a sort of a fearless grit and tenacity.
Determination. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a really cool thought that you gave me. Really cool, but it's complex, isn't it? It's like because I also think Scorpio is a little bit afraid to take risks like Sag, and Sag is a little bit afraid to go into the gory, just
details like Scorpio. Yeah.
Yeah. To go look at the dead body in the morgue. They don't want to do it.
Yeah. But Mary, you put them together and the combination is extremely interesting.
Yeah. So we want to know who has this placement, and are you a mortician?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What are you doing with your life? And are you filthy rich? Are you the millionaire?
That too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. What do you think about Sagittarius and the ninth? Woo.
Oh my gosh. That's where Sagittarius wants to be. I mean, we have the adventure. When I think of Sagittarius here, I really think of boundless energy. There is so much energy that they want to expand their life, their belief system. They want to learn every language. They want to travel to every country. They want to have every adventure. It's just kind of boundless, not boundless like Pisces, but there's so much to learn in so little time. That would be my catchphrase for Sagittarius there.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I think they're also the great orator. They could be the great preacher. I don't know Joel Osteen's placement, but just like, an electrifying leader, minister, preacher, trailblazer, storyteller. Yeah.
That is good because they're the archer.
They lead the track.
The archers always led in war. I don't remember what movie that's from, but they always led the archers. They came out first in battle.
I like how you said it's expansive. These people, if you have Sag here, you're an Aries rising, but you have to believe in something big. And you're going to believe in something. This is very different than, the Cancer or the Taurus. You're going to believe in something that is so much bigger than yourself that you actually might even feel a little bit inconsequential. Like the truth that you come up with or the truth that you chase or believe in is going to be gargantuan. It's going to be of the universal kind of truth. It's not going to be necessarily deeply personal. It's going to be universal truths and maybe esoteric and visionary. And this is the placement of the truly great teacher. Now, what modality you do that in, whether it's the performing arts, the ballet, being a judge, even a stay-at-home professor or stay-at-home mom. Great teachers. Moms are great teachers. Dads are great teachers. Good parents are good teachers, right? But this is the great teacher and the inspirational teacher. This person's probably extraordinarily fun to listen to.
Yes. And I don't want to get into politics, but this placement, it would also make a good politician.
Oh, yes.
Because they're able to convey their beliefs. They're able to convey the excitement about what they believe, because there is an excitement there and how expansive it is. So I really think it's a good placement for a politician.
I do too, because they can get people on their train. Okay, let's talk about trains. Woo, woo. Let's get on the Capricorn train. Capricorn in the ninth house. I think it's a little bit like Taurus, where there's a pragmatic, conventional, traditional, disciplined, even conservative, not politically, just culturally conservative, playing things safe around what they believe in or how they approach their spirituality or religion, but I do think these people come with a great authority. Like there is a huge sense of, I know, I have researched, and I will impart my wisdom onto you. There is
Yeah, but I
there's
think they don't have the same curiosity that
mhm.
some of the other signs do. When they want to go to another country, explore other cultures or even other philosophies, it might be because they are ambitious and want to get ahead in the corporate world.
I think that's true. Like their beliefs might be more around my job, climbing the corporate ladder, building this
Yeah.
life. And when they do travel, I think that they want to see the quintessential elements. For example, if I'm European and I'm coming to the United States, I want to see the Statue of Liberty. I must see Vegas. I've got to see what Hollywood looks like. You know what I mean? I've got to see Mount
Yeah.
Rushmore, the Eiffel Tower. I mean the Empire State Building, like the cultural landmarks and the historical. There's sort of a attachment to the quintessential, the essentials.
Into structure
Yeah.
because it's ruled by Saturn. So not only physical structures, as you were talking about, like the architecture and that kind of thing, but also to the structure of philosophy, whatever that may be. It may not be organized religion. It could be that they're very spiritual, but they have a structure to it. It's Saturnian.
It's Saturnian. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a double emphasis there because they're Taurus rising too.
I
Yeah.
think Capricorn there is also very traditional as far as because Capricorn naturally falls on that ancestral axis of
Mm-hmm.
mother and father, parental heritage. So it being on the ninth, they carry out the belief systems of the family, I think, in a similar way as you just mentioned that Taurus does.
Another idea here is when they travel, well, two things. One, I think that first, I want to talk about the father here. This could
Okay.
have been a really big father influence, especially if you have planets here with Capricorn in the house of that's exaggerated. You could have had a big authority piece in your life that tried to hammer a belief system into you. And if you didn't believe in that belief system, there could have been big consequences. So you either get compliant or quiet and go away. If
Yeah.
you don't want to believe in, I don't know, Scientology and you're indoctrinated into the Church of Scientology, how are you going to get out of that? Right. So a lot of times they feel
Yeah.
unsafe by the belief system that they need to subscribe by in order to be safe, but not really be safe. So usually there's some sort of needing to buck the system, needing to find my own spirituality, needing to break free from wanting to rebel, but not wanting to rebel because you have to, and having a larger than life father here, especially if you have planets in Capricorn in the ninth. Finding your own truth is so important. And I also sometimes see that there isn't a lot of curiosity to go, I don't know, live the guru life, because you said it
Yeah.
before, they kind of can make work their God.
Yeah.
Work is the way I'm going to get out of this horrible mess at home. I'm going to buy my way out, if you will.
Sure.
And there is some truth in that.
But Meredith, there is a tenacity about Capricorn finding their own truth. Are they traditional? Yes. May they find their own truth later in life? Maybe, because Saturn isn't fast. Jupiter
Yeah.
can move, but Saturn, no, it's much slower and more restrictive. So they may do it in a completely different way. Don't mistake Capricorn as not being determined or tenacious, because if they want to get there, they will.
Also, Connie Joe, don't you think, and I don't know, you are Capricorn, so you can talk about this from a Capricorn perspective, but I find that the Capricorns that I know, they have kind of a silent rebellion inside of them where they show up following the rules and even sometimes making you think that they're right in alignment with you, but on the inside they're really not. They're just figuring out how to separate from. And I also find that they kind of believe their authority figure for much of their life until they come into their own, and then they don't. It's like they have to self-authenticate or find their own personal strength
Yeah.
away from their authority figure, usually their fathers. And then when they find their own strength, they can then take on that authority figure's belief system that was passed down or they were indoctrinated into. But I have found that takes a long time. That does not, in a Leo's life or an Aquarian's life or a Sagittarius's life, that can happen at 13 or 14 years old. But in a
Yeah.
Capricorn placement here. It's what you said. It's a slower process. And why is that so? And do you agree with that?
I do. I agree with that 100%. I think it really depends on how much Aquarius and Sagittarius you have in your chart.
Yeah.
Because when you have Capricorn and something in Capricorn, let me put it this way: Mercury and Venus are never very far away from the sun. So usually, if you have planets in Capricorn, you're going to have a few in Aquarius and also or Sag. So I think, Meredith, the more Capricorn there is, maybe the slower the process is.
Yeah, the separating is really hard from separating from that authority, because you've had that authority as on a pedestal or up higher than you for so long.
Yeah, I agree. I do.
Okay, let's talk about Aquarius.
Here we have the rebellious one, and we have the one that will buck the system and that will say, I don't believe that. And I think most Aquarians are amazing debaters, especially when you put them in this ninth house. And they'll debate with you, okay. And it's not like they do it in a way that's offensive. I don't think Aquarian energy is offensive. It's more innovative and fun and more like, hey, can't you see how it might be 10 years from now? Because usually, Meredith, this sign is way ahead of us anyway, or they're way ahead of everybody else. They're willing to take on the beliefs and the faiths that the rest of the zodiac may not be ready for yet. Is there life on other planets? Am I a starseed? Maybe. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I get you.
I love it. Yes, you got me. Oh my God. And it's also Gemini rising. So it adds to that, right? So we have the lower and higher octave of Mercury.
Mercury, yes.
in trying to one another, just like and then Sagittarius is on the 7th house cusp, I think.
Right.
Yeah. And so most likely. So this is just like a explosive mind.
It is. And are they willing to believe everything? Yeah, they're willing to, but it doesn't mean they're going to.
Yeah,
they're willing to take a look at it, but it doesn't mean they're going to embrace it. But they definitely want to have a desire to understand other cultures. And I think you were talking about Gemini. In a way, even though Aquarius is a fixed sign, they're pretty all-inclusive. They're very live and let live.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're right in there with Gemini. But I wonder if these people are secretly wishing that the aliens come and abduct them just for afternoon tea.
We are. What? How fun would that adventure be? And don't you think they love to tell their stories?
I got abducted by aliens for afternoon tea, but they did not serve crumpets. What are they thinking?
Exactly. And there was no scotch in the tea. I mean, like, what is going on here? I love Aquarius energy. And I think in this house, it's so much fun. When you put Uranus together with Jupiter, I think anything can happen. Be ready. Just be ready.
Yeah, be ready. But I think they can also turn into the incredible activist, because they will put their belief system into an action, their words and an action, and take a stance. And I think really get out there for social justice, for their causes. And I think they'll be loud and proud about it. And this is another one, not die trying, or like Virgo, I'll die trying. This is I'll die fighting. They'll die fighting.
Agreed. And that's the reason they're such great debaters, because they're not going to give up or give in. Will they come and have a drink with you after the debate? You better believe it. They're not going to hold a grudge, but they're going to debate their point, their stand on something till the very end.
Yeah. And okay, to that point, I kind of think that they can sort of fight tooth and nail with you, and take you down, pin you to the mat, tell you what they believe in and all that. And then, like what you said, high five, knuckles, shoulder bump, and throw back a beer with you, where the other person, if they're like, I don't know, any other sign, basically, they're like, what, bro, that, like that was rude. Where the Aquarius and the 9th person is like, no, it wasn't. That
I know. Like, let's put them Cancers. I love you, but a Cancer would be so insulted.
So insulted, they're not throwing back a beer, right?
Exactly.
So I do think that's funny, where that's just the way it kind of flows. And there is a little bit of a jarring abrasiveness with this placement, a little bit, because their feelings are not really in it. You know, if you think about those placements, Gemini rising, Aquarius, and Sag, I mean, this is very blunt. And then Sagittarius on the 7th house cusp, I mean, they're straight talkers. They're going to call it like it is. This too would be a great politician. Like
they would be cutthroat for sure.
Cutthroat. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They might be refreshing because there's not a lot of BS. You don't have to be particularly nice to them. You can have a great debate. You know, we brush ourselves off and walk away. Really, really. And also let freedom ring. Oh my God. This is probably like one of the most let me be free combinations. These people cannot be enslaved or ensconced into what you want from me. It's kind of my way or the highway. Not totally, but I am not going to be locked into something I don't truly believe in.
Exactly. I think that's so true. But at the same time, they'll let you have your belief system. It's like, okay, fine, my friend. You believe what you need to believe, but don't try to talk me out of what I believe.
Exactly. And that's what's beautiful. Like let freedom ring, that applies for you too. You know, they're not trying to imprison you into their system either.
Right.
Yeah. That's my favorite part about Aquarius is they let you believe in what it is you want. And they'll even be curious about what you're believing.
Oh yeah. They'll ask you questions and they'll truly want to know. And then they'll take it, they'll process it, and they'll keep it or they'll throw it away. But they won't throw you away too.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Pisces in the 9th house. Wow. This is like really pretty magical, I think.
It is. I mean, can you say the utmost ultimate teacher, preacher, universal, Mother Teresa person? It's just all of those things.
Right. And this is like Cancer rising. So it's like really sensitive.
Yes.
And I think that there is a deep spiritual approach to their whole life. I mean, I think that these people, they probably have a spiritual belief around what they eat and what they wear and who they're going to be in the world. And they want to align with a divine truth, a spiritual truth, a cosmic truth, a universal truth too. Both signs are ruled by Jupiter.
By Jupiter. Yeah.
We've got double expansion plus Neptune, which is infinite. And so they can probably feel a little bit like a lost soul until they have found themselves.
I'm so glad you said that because that leaves, Jupiter, as expansive as it is, it still has boundaries. But when you throw Neptune in the mix, there's no boundaries. I think there needs to be, and this might be what the problem lies for Pisces here, to have a little bit of structure where you're not just on a constant sea of belief systems and having faith in this and having faith in that and never really nailing anything down that you truly believe in.
Absolutely. And I do think that these people would be phenomenal. Well, what would be good for them is yoga and meditation and doing some body work where they can get into the feeling or the breath work or the energy or the knowledge where it's not definitive, defined truths, but it's more of a state of being. Do you know what I mean?
That was beautiful. I agree 100%. And they would be great teaching those things as well. This is such a humanitarian placement where it's that person that cares about everybody. They do not care where you come from, how much money you have, what you believe. Most of the time, they love you anyway.
Yes. I was going to say this is really leading with love. Deep personal love, and then love for others and love for animals, trees, plants, all of it, every living being. But I think it's also the dark side, if you will. I think that can be very, very, very painful too, because it is so sensitive to the wrongdoings in life and society. And they feel like they're just this little grain of sand that can't do much about it.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of their spirituality wants to come from a place of altruistic, genuine, authentic love for one another. And wherever you have Pisces in your chart, that is the part of you that believes we are all one. And this is the house of religion. This is the house of spirituality. This is the house of your highest, best self. The crimes in life might be absolutely unbearable to watch with this placement.
I agree. I mean, it's the only word I can think of, Meredith, is gentle. There's something very gentle about having Pisces in the 9th house. because they are so expensive, but they don't want, it's like Meredith said, they don't want to see anyone hurt.
Yeah, this is the person who's like, no, I can't get another dog because I can't experience my dog ever dying.
Yeah.
I can't go there. Like the pain they really have their finger on the pulse around the pain, the agony, the suffering of separation. Separation is going to be a big piece of understanding their truth, how we separate from one another. Separation creates pain. If I treat myself separate from you, or better than you, or worse than you, that's a different form of separation, right? And so what I always say about Pisces is Pisces lives like inside of you. They believe in the total merge of life. And so they want to merge fully. And so with other things that are foreign to them, they want that knowing. It isn't necessarily like Virgo, that's their opposite sign, the facts. They just want to feel and to know. And music is enormous for them, like world music, cultural music, folk music, studying music from around the world.
Musical composition here, or an instrument, how to play different instruments here, or going to a foreign land and learning foreign dance.
Yes.
I can see it's, can't you picture kind of and I'm not stereotyping, I'm just old, but the hippie Pisces
totally
going across the lands, dancing and moving to all the music and loving everybody, like free love and free peace and goodwill.
This is totally the hippie placement. I mean, totally. Sagittarius, we are dressed perfect for the ninth house because Sagittarius ninth house is not fancy. It's comfortable.
No.
Is just like so comfortable. It is living out of the back of the van or in the camper or the camps. And then you put Pisces there and it is the total hippie. I also think though that it's the person who goes and learns the ukulele in Hawaii and the dance.
Oh yeah, I love it.
The African drums when they go to Africa, the blues in New Orleans, and the music, it really speaks to them. It is an emotional intelligence more than just a high IQ. This is not like winning the ACT test score. This is the download of the knowing, the
because
feeling.
It's like they have a connection with the divine, with the universe that is so real to them.
And I think you're saying the exact same thing, but it's like this ability they can assimilate within cultures. They make a great spy, to tell you the truth, because they're the and so they can assimilate and probably even speak with an accent and look and talk and wear and dress and mimic whatever culture they're in with all this Jupiter mutability, right? And so they could blend in. But that's a different kind of intelligence. If I am, the perfect person who knows all of the cultural rules, but I can't assimilate into it, what good is it?
Exactly. No, I agree. So is Madi Hera, is that how you say it? Is she our Pisces in the night? I mean, wasn't she a spy? I'm really showing my age today because that was an old
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think that is exactly it. Oh my gosh, Connie, this was so much fun. I love doing this series with you. And if we get enough positive feedback, we might do round 2 of all the houses with the planets. But this was really long. It was hard to get through all the signs. So we'll have to do that. If you guys want us to do the planets, just let us know. And I'm just so glad you're here with us learning.
Oh, absolutely. We are.
So you guys, I'm going to sign off from Seattle, here in my house in Seattle. I wish you the very best. And
bye from Florida. Love you guys.
Take care.